I'm going to use this sketch to audition some new supplies that I might add to my outdoor stash. Earlier this spring, before I started the mushroom series that changed everything, I was setting up for what I thought my summer would look like. And a quick update on the mushroom. So basically, I've taken what I explored and found in my sketchbook with watercolor, and I put it on here with acrylic paint so far. So now I'm going to be building the background, because to make these white mushrooms stand out, I need to darken the background. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to just do that with paint or if I want to do it with this technique. Maybe it'll be a combination of both. After the mushrooms, I realized I needed to make some adjustments if I want to keep my creative groove flowing over the busy summer. It turns out making art for art's sake is not as simple as it sounds. With no markets to produce for or classes to design for, my brain just hasn't gotten the memo. And the memo says, just create, paint, let it flow. No agenda, no deadlines, just find your way. If you've been watching the channel lately, you know the rather large shift I speak of came about when I started a Canvas series I planned to submit to a jury with my application for a summer art show. All of a sudden, the results I had previously felt good about fell flat. I had been making work in production for so long, my comfort level surpassed my need for new discovery. The variation each new canvas presented was once discovery enough for me, until the mushroom series. I didn't realize just how much I need more than variation. I want to be stretched as an artist. I want to find my true style. The problem is, I've been creating in one mode for so long, I'm on the struggle bus with finding a new way forward. And what I mean by variation is I can do something different with the sky. I can change the vantage point of the waves. For a long time, really the only variation was in the waves in the paper I used. Then I started playing with the sky more. It's always fun to try a new stencil for a sun, and the papers and the fabrics add fun all on their own. When I introduced paint pour and I started just responding to the things that happened on the canvas with the paint pour, a lot changed. I haven't always been good at making time for myself, much less a way for my personal creative growth. Life has always had a way of edging out the goals I set for myself professionally. It was largely due to the fact that my people have always come first, and partly due to ADHD. I don't have any regrets when it comes to my peeps getting the best of me, but if I'm honest, I have been known to beat myself up about my lack of discipline. Not quite as much now that I know that my ADHD brain just works differently than I was raised to believe my brain should work. Now I have two main problems to resolve. One is learning to give myself over to discovery. The other is getting my physical and headspace set up to make that happen. So far this summer, I did get to the beach once on a very windy day. My sister was visiting, so I didn't film it, but I did pull out my sketchbook. What I learned on this day is that I never seem to have what I need to bring the pages I start outside to a feeling of completion. It is most surely the mixed media artist in me and somewhat the ADHD in me. I seem to always get to the point in the sketch where I don't feel like I can continue with any of the mediums I have in my bag. So this is what I have been bringing in my bag. This is just a bag of markers. And then I have this guy with a few watercolors, of course some sparkly ones. And this is just a basic palette, nothing fancy. And then I have clips to keep my pages down. This brush I haven't really tried yet. I brought it thinking that I would, but I mostly use these brushes that have the water in them already. Sometimes I bring my squirt bottle, and then I have a few other miscellaneous brushes and my favorite Vita watercolors. If you haven't heard me gush over these yet, stay tuned because you'll hear it again, or watch an old video. This is my little palette. Sometimes I use the inside of these, but sometimes I use this. I'm not a big markery gal, so I probably don't have the best of the best kinds of markers. I just have a variety of some. I think there's a few. At least I thought there was a few Tombras in here. There's no Tombras in here. Yeah, I need to add some Tombras because I do want to start playing with blending. One thing I did learn when I was playing on the beach the other day in my sketchbook is that Sharpies don't blend like Tombras. I won't say they don't blend, but they don't blend like Tombras. But yeah, I love gel pens. I have a few Sharpies and paint pens and a few, if I wanted to do some value or line sketches, which is not my expertise at all, but I do want to start to play with that some. I bring one sketchbook, sometimes two sketchbooks. My cloud sketchbook keeps making the cut. This week I pulled out my smeary things and some other mediums to audition them for a spot in my stash for outdoor creating. I'm going to try and finish this painting I started recently on the beach and see what I grab when I have everything at my fingertips at home. Let's see where I end up. I have a bunch of gelatos. I used to use my gelatos in Bible journaling. That's the only thing I've ever really used them for. These I've used a ton, especially in classes. So these are tried and true. It's a little watercolor tissue. I like to create texture with paint with these things, and I think these might make the cut. I brought up a few more markers, as if I didn't have enough in my bag already, but I did grab a few more Poscas. These are paints for metal, but I'm kind of wondering, there might be more like an alcohol ink kind of thing. They're Ranger. I'm gonna look them up before I use them, but they're one of those things that came about in my stash because of, well, if you know my backstory, I sort of inherited a craft store. This was one of the products that I did not purchase, but it was in the stash of things that came along with my craft store. I can tell you that story sometime if you like. But these are some stencil butters from the Crafters World. There is the brand, but I got them from joggles.com. I thought I was only going to be grabbing a couple of these, but it turns out these are all sort of ocean themed. So I ended up grabbing almost all of them. And then, oh wait, here's two more. So I've got a good bit of those to work with, and that's what I brought the palette knife up for. And then this idea kind of came to me because I taught a class this week for the first time of the season, and I decided as a fun thing for them would be to use these little stamps in a few places to create texture on their wave canvases. Those might work great in my stash. Some of these are smeary things, so I'm probably going to be adding some parchment paper to my stash as well. Here's what we're going to be auditioning to be added. So here we go. This was where the surf was really crashing in. There were these bubbles in the surf, and so I was trying to pick up the feeling of that. I want to see what these different markers do. I'm kind of operating from memory now. This is actually chalk marker, so I don't know how it's gonna smear. It's not smearing, so a little bit, but not too bad. This is wet erase, which is not a wet erase board, so maybe these will actually work great. I used to use these to decorate my windows of my retail studio. I think these are a win. I decided to grab a little tester sheet for these markers. The camera really makes my sketch look better than it does in person. I'm just gonna be real. Other artists who sketch for you on YouTube might not be as upfront. They might let the benefits of the camera go unmentioned. You know, I'm not trying to say this looks super bad because it's a study, it's a start. Like this is staying in. Oh, this is the same, almost the same color as that Posca. Okay, so I'm starting to have more fun now. I think it's a matter of figuring out what you can do with markers It's coming back to me, I guess, because I did have to take foundational painting classes when I was in art school, even though my major was sculpture and then eventually jewelry design. I did have to take some drawing classes, and of course I took drawing classes. That was my thing all through high school and middle school, actually. It was a middle school teacher who expressed that she saw potential in my creativity, and that was Mrs. D'Amico. She was a big influence on me becoming a professional artist. I've been watching some plein air artists on YouTube lately to get some tips on supplies. It seems watercolor and gouache paints are the favorites of many. Some carry markers or paint pens. I've also seen pastels, acrylic, and more. Bottom line, materials make the experience for the artist, but they don't make the artist. Practice makes the artist. So I just need to get out there and start practicing. So I'm loving these pens. Now I just need to be more patient. I think with mixed media, at least the way I've always worked, I think I'm just used to more immediate results, more instant gratification. And part of that is probably my ADHD, which I don't mean to keep going on about my ADHD, but it's part of my reality. So, and it definitely factors in. Right, so a lot of this was white foam, so I don't really want to go over that with this stuff, but so these are the gelatos that I've always loved. So I think these could be a way to maybe blend in some of the stipply stuff to go back and add some definition to the watercolor, some shading, which I know you could also do with watercolor, but I'm experimenting with expanding my toolkit. So it does smear, it's smeary. Next up, a little stencil butter. Let's see, I do love the idea of this because it is not smeary after it dries. I could also see me using this as a base layer instead of watercolor. So I think these might be a good addition. I might want to find some smaller containers to put them in. I have learned over the years that a proper setup is crucial to my ability to move forward. My zone system is a solid start, but this is the first time I've applied it to a multi-use space. So no longer having a dedicated art space is my first hurdle. Right now I'm trying to get a rhythm started for creating outside. It's a whole different universe. I need a mini system within my system. Supplies need to be at the ready, and they need to be the right supplies. I like it. Let's try something in the sand. I have the dune butter. And this might be a good addition for a little dry brushing. I love the shiny quality of anything that I do that involves water. I like using shimmery stuff. Okay, I'm loving that. And I do know once this dries, it'll be fixed. I won't have to worry about it smearing. That's a winner, winner. And I do have some little palettes I can put these in. That's got me excited. I'll show you how that comes together. I've used a palette knife with these. These dry up too, so these might be a little dry. No, the good news is you can just put a few drops of water in there and close it up, come back to it later, good as new. They're shimmery, but they also dry fixed. Due to my love of paper and glue, I have a tendency to shy away from the smeary things. I do have some pastels and whatnot. I did not pull those out. Actually, the only smeary things I pulled out were the gelatos. Everything else is gonna dry fixed. And that's kind of what I want in my bag. I really don't want a lot of smeary things. This is what I like about this, is I can tone down some of the marker work a little bit, so it's not as markery. I like that. I don't have the patience to do a lot of marker work, I don't think. At least I've never spent my time and energy doing that. Maybe I should allow myself that luxury. Okay. So I think I've concluded that I can add some more stuff to my bag of tricks. I just need to figure out how to make it all fit. So here's well, I'll save that for another video, but I am going to create a bigger kit for when I go to the beach or somewhere all day to create. So I can be literal and just do a few cutesy shells, but I can also use this to create just some texture. See, this is the kind of thing that gets me excited. I guess I like the unexpected, something other than just painterly skills. I like adding another layer because I don't have painterly skills. I have not developed my painterly skills yet. I'm working on them. This is will be part of my sketchbook journey. Of that. So I'm not probably going to bring this big stamp out to the beach, but these, I actually love these and I like the colors. So nice. That makes it more fun for me. Honestly, so much more fun. I can use these stamps either with the ink or with paint. So this will be fun to add these. So I'm excited. Okay, this is the only thing I haven't tried. And I think I've only ever done these with acrylic paint. So I guess I'll have to use an acrylic marker to get these coated. I just don't know if that's going to be sufficient. Well, I guess if I pump it like that, it will. I don't know if the fabric is just absorbing that. Let's see what happens. Yeah, well, it's a little blobby. It didn't really pull much of that texture, but you can kind of see there. I like that. I like that it's sort of random-ish. I got maybe 2.5 little impressions out of one time loading it up. So I do think I'll add a couple of these. So I need to work on making all of this fit next. Oh, I didn't try the watercolor tissue. Please tell me if you know of a better way to use watercolor tissue. I feel like there's another benefit. The only way I really know is kind of saturate it in a place and let it dry, and then sort of pull it up, and then you get some cool effects like that. That's all I know about watercolor tissue. I'll probably need to Google how to use watercolor tissue. And honestly, rather than me taking a paintbrush and doing this, you know, to get my textures, I like building this way. Going on top, making another layer, that kind of thing, which I know you can do with a brush as well, but this is the kind of building texture-y stuff I love. After the first phase of the audition, I thought, why not watercolor pencils? And then I also have some watercolors that I've had this fun little palette thing to create. So I'm gonna do that. And I may be adding a little gouache, at least probably a white gouache if there's one in here. I'm not even sure there is. Next time we get together, I'm gonna show you exactly what made it into the bag. And I believe this is gonna be my ocean book this summer, because we go to the beach a lot, and I want to just keep painting the ocean because I love my wave canvases, and I feel like there's more that's going to come out of those wave canvases, and I think it's going to be details like this that I discover in my sketchbook. And if you're new here, these are a couple examples of my wave canvases if you haven't seen them before. This is my really big one that I did over the winter, and I did a whole video series about this canvas. I think that some of the sketchbook details are going to start finding their way in with my layers. I can get this fun texture in other ways besides just paint pour. So this is where I am with wave canvases at the moment. They're on my think wall. I want to add a few more details to this big guy. I'm working on finishing these out. Like this is the ocean part and these two are sunsets. I'm just trying to discover and stretch and see how these come together, and that ocean sketchbook is going to play a big part. So that's the progress of my wave canvases. I actually need to do an update video about where I am with those. I think we have a plan. Very good. The next step will be going out with my new collection of tools and see if I can complete a page without my entire home stash to fall back on. Okay, so I'm not going to be able to zip this, so I need to edit some more. So be sure and check back, because we have got a lot to talk about.